I am Naomi Hirose. It is my great pleasure to be here to speak to you this afternoon. I'd like to thank our School of Business for providing me this opportunity. And then I'd like to also thank you very much for coming here instead of going to Halloween events. Thank you very much. It's been more than 7.5 years since the accident of Fukushima nuclear power station. Fortunately, the condition of the plant is getting stable and then better now. And then situation of the surrounding communities are also getting better day by day. Although that the accident itself was very, very serious, really bad, but we have learned a lot from the accident, and we have experienced a lot since the accident. So I'd like to share some of these lessons today. I'd like to speak maybe 30 minutes or so. Then I'd like to answer to your questions. Okay? So let me begin with a brief explanation of what exactly happened 7.5 years ago. It was 2:46 p.m. Friday afternoon, March 11, 2011. A very, very large earthquake hit Japan. The magnitude was 9.0. It's a huge earthquake. I think that this is Japan's largest earthquake in recorded history, and then also the fourth largest earthquake in world's recorded history. And the epicenter right here is about 183 kilometers east of our nuclear power stations, about 110 miles east. And right after the earthquake, what happened in our nuclear power plants is so-called scrum. Scrum means inserting control rods between the nuclear fuels so that stopped nuclear fission. Stopping nuclear fission means stopping power generation. So power plants needed the power for itself. The power was supposed to come from outside, but one of the power pylon fell down because of the accident outside nuclear power plant. So there was no power supply outside. So immediately after that, emergency generators, such as diesel engines, started working and then started making power so that we gain power and then we control the power plants again. Those things happened almost simultaneously, so we control the power. Actually, I was at the headquarters in Tokyo, and the first report that I received from the nuclear power plant was that a scrum was safely made, and then plant was under control. So I thought this was all right. I was very much relieved by this first report because as you know, we had many big earthquakes, and one of them, had caused scrum in the past. So I thought this was one of those past exact events. So I was very much relieved. But 50 minutes later, devastating tsunami hit Japan. Probably you have seen the tsunami approaching to the east coast of Japan so many times on the TV news or something like that. It's like a surfing wave coming to the coast. And unfortunately, nobody in nuclear power plants, Fukushima plants, was taking movie of tsunami approaching to their nuclear power plant. There are many photos and pictures, but there was no movies. But we found out the one guy was taking tsunami of approaching to the thermal power plant. He belonged to thermal power plant, and then the thermal power plant is here, Hirose thermal power plant. It's south of Fukushima Daiichi, about 20 kilometers south of Fukushima Daiichi. It's about 12 miles south, so it's very close. So why don't we watch that video taken by the guy in Hirono Thermal Power Station. Okay. Okay, let's go. This is the Pacific Ocean. This side is north, and this side is south, Tokyo side. Tsunami came from south side. Please take a look at these automobiles. Okay, this continues on and on, so let's stop it. Again, this is a tsunami hitting our thermal power plant. It's not the nuclear power plant, but it's so close. So I think I want you to understand, have some kind of images of the tsunami hitting the power plants. Okay, so this is a map of the Fukushima Daiichi. This blue area, this is, oops, sorry. This is Pacific Ocean. So blue area was inundated with seawater, with tsunami. And then, you know that the nuclear power plants, even after the nuclear fission stopped, nuclear fuel keeps vast amount of heat, so that we have to cool them down by recirculating water. So it needed pump. But because of this, all the emergency batteries and then diesel engine generators washed away, so that we lost power completely. It is called station blackout. We lost everything. And so of course the pump stopped. And then the nuclear fuel are covered with metal called zircaloy, which started melting around the temperature of 1500 Celsius. So it started melting. And then vast amount of the hydrogen was formed with the molten zircaloy and water, the chemical reaction. And then probably, because the hydrogen is lighter than the air, so it went up to the top of the building inside, and then accumulated there, somewhere like this. And something ignited the hydrogen. I don't know, we don't know yet, but because of this, there are many aftershocks. So it could be something, light bulbs fell down, or pipe shaft fell down, or something ignited, and then hydrogen explosion took place. Hydrogen explosion took place in unit number 1, unit number 3, 4. This is unit number 1, unit 3, 4. Those miserable explosion took place. And then radioactive material spread out of the building, spread outside the plant site. And this is a map of the radiation dosage. Excuse me, sorry. This is a map of as of April 2011, so just 1 month after the accident. Obviously, the wind came from southeast to northwest, so that the contaminated area spread out towards the northwest side. And this is a power plant. But after 6.5 years after, this is as of November 2017, it looks better now, because we did a lot of decontamination work, and then as you know that the radiation level goes down as time goes by, so that it looks better now. But still, this is the number of this is the evacuation zone and then the number of evacuees. First, right after the accident, government indicated, designated evacuation zone with a radius about 30 kilometers. So somewhere from here to here, this area was called evacuation zone first. But this zone is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And now 2 towns left still as an evacuation zone. And this is the number of the people who had lived in evacuation zone. So now still 20,000 people had lived in this pink area so that they cannot go home, even if they would like to go back home. So one of the responsibilities of Tokyo Electric Power is make these surrounding community available for everybody once they would like to go back to home. So that's one of the responsibilities that we have to take. So this is what happened 7.5 years ago. So let me explain about the current conditions of the nuclear power plants. As I said, the condition of the nuclear power plants is very stable now, under control. That the cooling water continuously is recirculated into reactors and then spent fuel pool. And then temperatures and then other parameters continuously monitored 24/7. So we are controlling this. So it's getting better now. And let me talk about the radiation level in the plant site. This pink area is that area of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. It used to be all red. Red means we workers have to wear very heavy duty protective gear, such as full face masks and 3 pairs of the gloves, 2 pairs of socks, that kind of thing. But now, 96% of the area is what we call green zone, where you don't have to wear any protective gear. So this is okay. So it changed very much. So that as far as the working condition of the workers have been very much improved. So like this. So it looks normal factory or anything. But still, there are 2 major, very difficult challenges ahead of us. One is removing of the spent fuels from spent fuel pools. And the other is removing fuel debris, molten fuels. So let me talk about removing the spent fuel first. As I said, this is a spent fuel pool. So there are still almost 400 spent fuel bundles in Unit 1. Unit 2 is 600. This is almost 600. Please take a look at the unit number 4. We have already removed all the 1,535 fuel bundles from unit number 4. Unit number 4 was not operation on March 11, 2011. So that's why all the nuclear fuel had been removed from reactor to the spent fuel pool. That's why there's so many fuel bundles left in the spent fuel pool. So we first tried to remove those fuel bundles, and then we successfully did it 4 years ago, 2014. It took 1 year to take all the fuel bundles. So now we are about to start removing this 566 fuel bundles from unit number 2, unit number 3. And this is the top of the unit number 3. Because of the hydrogen explosion, it's a mess. So first we had to clear all the rubbles. Then we built this cylinder-shaped structure in which crane and then fuel handling machines were installed. So we are about to remove these 566 bundles from unit number 3. The next thing is removing the fuel debris. This is a unit 1, 2, 3. Because this is so much radiated, so no human can actually approach into the reactor building. So we had to develop a lot of various kind of the robotics, and then let them go in, and then take pictures of movies, and then collect the data, and then everything. And based on those data, we analyzed that the unit number 1, most of the fuels were molten and then fell down to the bottom of the vessel, container vessel from the reactor. And then unit number 2, on the other hand, most of the fuel still remain in the reactor, although they are melted, but only a small portion fell down to the bottom of the container vessel. And then unit number 3 is in between unit 1 and 2. And we are exploiting a lot of things. And this is a picture of unit number 2 taken by that small robot. And this is a picture of this part. And then this robot is, since the penetration is so thin, so small, so we developed like fishing rods robots. And the fishing line, at the end of the fishing line, there is a device, and there's a camera, and then data collecting devices. So that picture was taken from the above of this. It looks very ugly, and then I don't know what it is, but excuse me. Obviously, this is not the fuel. Something shaft fell down with the molten. So in this mess, there is a molten uranium or molten fuel. So we're gonna pick some of them, a little small portion, and then take it out, and then analyze. And then we are carefully planning how to attack, how to take these debris. And then we start from unit number 2. Because this is the current situation of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. But let me briefly touch upon other unique features of the plant. We are conducting the autonomous drive testing in this site. You know that it's really difficult to conduct autonomous drive testing on the street, because the Japanese traffic law is very, very strict. There are many restrictions, regulations, so it's really hard. But here in Fukushima Daiichi, you know, it's very big site, nearly 900 acres, right? And then still a lot of traffic, because every day 4,000, 5,000 workers are working there. And then a lot of visitors. And then the number of the various vehicles is nearly 2,000, such as cranes, heavy machines, and trucks and buses, vans. So it's ideal, I would say, ideal place to do testing of the autonomous drive. Of course, the purpose of this testing is improving efficiency of the traffic in the site, or optimizing the number of the vehicle. But we would like to develop central controlled autonomous traffic system in this closed environment. And then hopefully this would be applicable to other enclosed environments, such as airports, factories, and then amusement parks. And first of all, TEPCO has been playing a very, very important role in promoting electric vehicles, particularly in deploying quick chargers. We developed more than 10 years ago, we developed CHAdeMO. CHAdeMO is a communication protocol between electric vehicles and quick chargers. And then using that technique, using that protocol, there are over 22,000 quick chargers in 71 countries already. And then we would like to make this protocol as a world standard, so that we recently agreed with Chinese authority to jointly develop a next generation ultra-fast charging standard. So I hope that we can be of help to deploy the electric vehicle by doing so. And then many other things are actually going on this site. We opened up open platform. We invite many people, many engineers to help decommissioning this plant site by asking everybody to give us advice or new technologies which can be applied to this facility. So if you are interested in, please visit our homepage. Okay, so let me talk about TEPCO's financial performance. Because of the accident, we recorded 3 consecutive years huge loss from fiscal 2010 to 2012, 3 years. But after that, past 5 fiscal years, we have recorded a lot of profit. So it looks very good, doesn't it? But actually, it's not. Because let me talk about that estimated total cost of the accident, which consists of 3 parts. One is nuclear damage compensation, and the other is decontamination of the surrounding communities, and then decommissioning itself. The total estimated cost of the accident is $200 billion US. And 3/4 of this is TEPCO's responsibility. So we have to make $145 billion of the money. It's too huge, right? It's too huge to imagine how huge it is. So let me put it this way. It takes 30 to 40 years to decommission, to complete decommissioning of this plant. So we don't need this much money at this moment. So let me divide this 145 billion by 30 years. So it end up with $5 billion a year. Still big. Okay. So let me check that our performances in the past 3 fiscal years. We spend compensation expenses almost every year, 1.5 billion or something like that. And then we are also spending decommissioning expenses, nearly 1.345 billion a year. After spending these expenses, we still recorded profit of 2 billion or 3 billion. So it ended up with nearly $5 billion a year. So far, so good. So we have to continue this for another 27 years. It's not easy. I'm not saying that we can do that. We can. It's not difficult. This is a difficult thing, but we have to take responsibility. So we have to do this. So, but I'd like to say that it's not an imaginable big number. If we do our best, maybe we can do this for another 23 years, 27 years. Okay, let me talk about some activities outside of the plant. as I said, that we would like to have a surrounding community available for those who would like to go home, right? But compensation money or decontamination are not necessary for them to go back. They need a lot of work, such as such as weeding their garden or street, and then snow shoveling in the winter, and then cleaning up their houses. TEPCO's employees are doing these activities. Everybody. This is a voluntary basis. Usually they take 3 or 4 days off and then go to Fukushima and do these kind of things and come back to their offices, and then they tell the story. They tell what they did or what they saw in Fukushima to their colleagues in their offices. And next, one of the other colleagues say, okay, next week I will go. This kind of the continuation start. And then it says 400,000 person days, but now it's 430,000 person days have already been spent in doing these things on voluntary basis. So and then the mayors and the mayors of the towns or the people there are very much appreciated these activities. And I'm very much proud of our members of the Tokyo Electric doing these things. We are not pushing them. We are just asking that, which is very good for them to see how big the accident was or those things. So I think it works very well. So I know I'm running out of time, and these are the lessons that I listed. Only I can't list all of them. This is some of them. But it consists of 3 parts: safety culture, building safety culture, or effective communication, or building solidarity. I don't have the time, so let me explain this 3rd part, building solidarity. Before the accident, the number of employees of TEPCO was 39,500. Among them, only 3,000, maybe 3,500 belonged to nuclear-related section. So only 10% of our people working for something nuclear. So the rest of the 90% of the employee, they had nothing to do with nuclear. But this is nuclear accident, right? So for those 90% of the people, they feel, I very much understand, they feel, how come my salary was cut? I had nothing, I had nothing to do with this accident. My job is climbing up the electric pole and fixing the wires. Those are my job, and it has nothing to do with nuclear, right? So it's kind of inevitable for them to think that way. But as I said, it's not easy. Of course, it's not easy, but it's impossible for 10% of people make $5 billion a year. So it needs all the resources. They have to cooperate. So everybody has to feel some kind of responsibility and then do their job. As I said, that voluntary activities are done by all the people, everybody. So I think this is I would say as CEO, this part is I think that I made a lot of effort to do this. And then what I did is, that the CEO of TEPCO was very busy. You can imagine that. But whenever I have some short time available, I went to the field offices thermal power stations. And then I had face-to-face communication with the people there. And, you know, I think it's very, very important. And then I don't know how much it worked, but I kept doing these things. And then I had a so-called CEO's open meeting once every 2 months. And again, this was a voluntary meeting. The people just get together and then ask me a lot of questions of the current situation of the company. And this is held in usually around 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, so that after their job, they just came to this meeting voluntary basis. So these things, I think, I don't know how much it worked, but I think these are very, very necessary. Sorry, it's running out. I spent almost more than 30 minutes. So I'd like to finish my talk here, and then I'd like to answer to your questions. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Thank you.
I have 3 questions.
Sure. Sure.
Naomi-san.
Yes.
The first question is, if you don't mind me saying, if another disaster happens, and is it possible to guarantee that this thing will never happen again? Yeah.
You mean a nuclear accident?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, the one thing that I keep saying to my people as the most important lesson is, do not think safe enough. So I would answer to your question, it could happen. Otherwise, if I say it would never happen, that's really dangerous. So I would say it could happen. So whenever we spend a lot of money to make a lot of reinforcement before the accident, but probably we were arrogant a little bit, so that we thought it was safe enough. But we could learn many, many things from many different things. For example, we could learn something from 9/11. So that, of course, there are many things happening in the world, in the nuclear power plants in the world. Of course, we gathered all the information and then make it to utilize, incorporate our safety. But it's not just a nuclear accident or nuclear something, but we could learn anything. So I would say we try not to have any disaster, but I never say it never happens. So we still keep doing something to improve our safety. Is that all right?
Okay. And the second question is, I'm a little curious about what is the technology that TEPCO use to change the plant from red area to green areas for people to wear the ordinary clothes to walk in there.
From green, what did you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little curious about what is the technology that TEPCO use to make the plant change from the red area to the green area, so that we can walk in.
Okay. Unfortunately, this is not TEPCO, this is total Japan, but because of the accident, all the nuclear power plants stopped operation. And then this is an energy mixture of Japan now. And then this is the amount of CO2 emission after the accident. So of course that we replaced nuclear power plants by thermal power plants a lot, so that we very much now depending on thermal power plants. So we, unfortunately, this is a result. And but also, this is very different from the United States. our self-sufficient rate of energy is only 7%. So we depend on 93% from, on the resources from abroad. So this is not very safe in terms of the national security or national energy security. By the way, this is the second from the last among the 34 OECD nations. By the way, the last one is Luxembourg. Probably, I don't know that there are any there are any plants in Luxembourg to generate electricity, but it all depends on the other country. But Luxembourg is a part of the continent, right? But Japan is island. There is no connection with the other countries, so it stands alone. So I think that this is very dangerous. So unfortunately, answering to your question, unfortunately at this moment, we are the electric power company, though our main job is supplying electricity whenever you'd like to use, possibly cheaper, possibly greener. But unfortunately, under these circumstances, we have to depend on thermal power plants. So, of course, we are going to use a lot of renewables in the future. But probably, I think, because of that self-sufficiency ratio, we better have a wide options of the resources. So many people are very much worried about nuclear generation now after the accident. But I think we better keep that option alive. I'm not talking about the percentage of the nuclear generation. I'm talking about the options. So we better use, of course, the solar or wind or whatever, as many as possible. So, and then we mix it, and then we'd like to supply electricity.
Okay. And the last question is, what is the technology or the method for TEPCO to use after this disaster, Fukushima disaster?
Well, safety to prevent disaster, or
no. I mean, after this nuclear disaster happened, then you cannot use nuclear power. So what is the other method to use to to fulfill the people's need for the electricity?
Yeah. As I said, we fully depend on thermal power plants because it happened suddenly, right? So we lost, I would say, before the accident, I think that nearly more than 30% of electricity of TEPCO was generated by nuclear power. So we lost them suddenly. So we have to cover up, right? We have to replace something. And then we bought a lot of diesel engine from all over the world. Because it happened March 11. Japan has a peak demand in summer. So we only have 3 months or something. So we bought a lot of diesel engine in order to meet the peak demand in summer. But so still now, TEPCO, we haven't restarted any nuclear power plant yet. So we still very much depend on gas, mainly gas, and some coal, and very short proportion of the oil.
Okay, thank you, Naomi-san.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Hi, thank you so much for your talk. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how this accident, this event, changed your approach to thinking about TEPCO's strategy as an electric service provider over the next 5 or 10 years, how you're thinking about your role in Japan and what your goals are in terms of your business as a whole. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's good, very good question. Well, the accident took place in 2011, but coincidentally, deregulation of the electric market started right after the accident. So, and then also the government changed a lot of law of the power business. And then, so we had to cope with those things simultaneously. We are spending a lot of money for the decommissioning at one hand, and we have to compete with other electric power companies. And then we have already lost our customers maybe 20% in the past 2 years. Of course, we also are gaining the customers outside Tokyo area. So we are doing the same thing. But still, it's not, for us, it's not very good timing, unfortunately. And so we have to change a lot of things, not just for the decommissioning, not just for the coping with this accident. The whole industry changed very much. The renewable is one thing. It's kind of difficult for the electric power company to accept all the renewables, right? We have to have the backups always, but nobody pays for the backups, and it's fluctuates, but demand doesn't fluctuate as the sun, light or shade or whatever. So it's a very difficult time period for the electric power companies to meet those changes. And it's I do not have any perfect answer to your questions, but we have to change. TEPCO have to change. So we have to accept all the new technologies, and that's why we opened up open platform to accept everything. Before the accident, we are the big company, so we were kind of arrogant. We are very proud, and we think we could do everything by ourselves. That's kind of the company. I agree. I admit, but no way for that. So, well, many things are going on. The competition is very, 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 very strong now because the Tokyo market. We are the regional monopoly company, and then our area, servicing area, was Tokyo metropolitan area, which is very, very lucrative. So that all the newcomers invading us. So as I said, we lost 20% of our customers already within the past 2.5 years or so. So we have to cope with that on one hand, and on the other hand, we have to make that 5 billion yen a year every year. So it's very difficult timing. So sorry, I cannot answer to your question directly, but we have to change. We have to adjust ourselves, as the electric power business in Japan particularly had not changed very much in the past 70 years or so, but we have to change now. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, Hirose-san. My name is Ushiyama, and I come from Japan. And so thank you very much for coming here and providing us with the update. I have 2 questions around what was going through your mind as you were going through the challenges. I think it's helpful for us to know as we aspire to become future business leaders. So the questions around how were you making decisions with the uncertain information, and you had to make quick decisions, you had to deal with different stakeholders. So how were you making decisions? And then the second is how were you managing stress? Because I believe you have to work with different government stakeholders and employees, and there are lots of challenges. Yes. So I'd be curious to know what was going through your mind.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, the first several years after the accident, it was all troubleshooting. So we didn't have time to plan our future. Well, many things happen, So leakage of the contaminated water, or that kind of things happen almost once every week or so. So every time we had to cope with those troubleshooting. So we didn't have a very clear goal or plan, but now the things are very stable now. So we have a business plan for the next 10 years or so. And then, of course, as I said, we have to make $5 billion a year. So, and then also, as you know, that the number of the population of Japan is decreasing, although that the Tokyo is still growing. So we are very much lucky to supply electricity in Tokyo area. But as I said, many people think this is a very lucrative market. So it's competition is very, very hard. Very, very strong here. So, well, after the accident, almost all the decision was made by instantly. We didn't have much time to think about, or we didn't have much time to gather all the information. So we made some mistakes, and we had to do that. I don't know how correct decision that I made, but anyhow, I did it. And, but still, as I said, things are changing very much. And yes, one thing that I always kept in my mind was that members of TEPCO, although, as you said, that there are many, many stakeholders. The top of them is people evacuated, of course. But sometimes we forgot how important that our members TEPCO is. So as I said, I took care of them very much, as much as possible, as much as I could. So I think it works. That's why that still many people keep that very high sense of the responsibility, not just supplying electricity, but taking the responsibility for Fukushima accident. And I don't know, but yeah, sorry, I'm not answering to your question directly, but it was a hard time to make a lot of difficult decisions. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I have one question around design. Mm-hmm. As a result of the accident, what design changes would you recommend, or what retrofits are you guys putting in place at your other plants?
I mean, a nuclear plant.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. It's a very good question, but we used to, in Japan, there are 54 units of the nuclear generation. And then only 9 have already started. And this bottom 15 units were kind of abandoned. The operator gave up to restart these 15 plants. Still all the electric power companies, operators of the nuclear plants, are busy restarting these plants. And then also, bad thing is we lost the public trust. And the second thing is the most important. Everybody starts thinking that maybe it's not very much economical to generate electricity by nuclear power plant. And then, so that the financial institutes start thinking this is not bankable project. So at this moment, all the electric power companies are busy restarting their existing plant. But I don't know. Well, the new SMR, small modular reactors, those things are started discussing. But I wonder that we have to solve these problems. Otherwise, we need money, right? Huge amount of money to invest in new kind of technologies, new plants. So it may take time because maybe I would say next 5 years or so, all the nuclear power operators busy restarting their existing plant, existing types of the nuclear power plant. So maybe after that, we have to think the new style or new modular type reactors or that kind of things. So it may take longer. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, Naomi-san. My name is Natalia, I'm from Barcelona, and I would have 2 questions. But first of all, I would like to thank you for your talk. The first one is, how did you deal with international organizations? I assume that the disaster had an impact on international waters, and I'm curious about how you dealt with that. And my second question is, if you could go back in time and if you could change a decision that you made or anything that happened aside from the earthquake itself and the tsunami, what would it be? What would you change? Thank you.
Yeah. Of course, we received a lot of support from all over the country, particularly from the United States. And then also those international organizations, a lot. They came and helped us a lot. So we thank them very much. So yes, but in return, what we could do is providing information or experiences that we learned or lessons that we learned. So we have, I think we should treasure them and then share all the those data with the nuclear community in the world, so that it would help to avoid recurrence of the same kind of things. And so I think that's the things that we are doing. So speaking here is kind of part of those things. So I think that's very important. And what is the next question? Okay. Is that okay? Sorry, I forgot that the student from Japan. How I cope with all the stress is, fortunately, I could sleep without any sleeping pill or nightcap. I don't know why, but I'm kind of that person. So whenever, while you are awake, you think bad thing, right? What if something happened, that kind of thing. And then that annoyed me very much. So I usually went to bed from to escape from the reality. And fortunately, I could sleep. So if it would have been very tragic if I tried to go to bed and then try to sleep and then struggle with my pillow, and then very afraid of watching the clock, and it says 1:30 in the morning. That would have been really bad. But fortunately, I could sleep, and then that helped very much. Sorry, it's a stupid answer, but okay. Please go ahead next.
Sorry, this is going to be the last question.
Okay.
We want to make sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Very nice presentation. I'm Kai Vetter from Department of Nuclear Engineering. I'm a professor in nuclear engineering here, just across the street. Thank you for putting a face to TEPCO. I think this is really very important. I've been to Fukushima about 20 times over the last 6 years. And first of all, I want to congratulate you really to the enormous progress which has been made on-site, but also off-site. Enormous progress. I can only recommend to look at the enormous progress. Yes, there are enormous challenges ahead of us, or ahead of you, but still a lot of progress. Just another comment, because it's Berkeley, I think, is a special place. When you look just across the Golden Gate Bridge and just extend, you will hit Fukushima. So we are pretty much exactly the same latitude as Fukushima. Just remove the water, and we are neighbors. That's, of course, it's not there, it's over there, it's just 9,000 miles. But nevertheless, I always like to mention that, so that we really, and it's only water in between, which of course is very important. Right? Just without water, we would be neighbors. So there is some connection. I mean, you're on the shore, we are on the shore, is really, there is some connection, just by geography. Now, I have a couple of comments and one question. Because at the end, you have particularly lost public trust. So you elaborated already in your in the safety that you want to, of course, enhance the safety within the culture within TEPCO. That's all, which are all important. So which relates, actually going back to the first question which was asked today, which can something like that happen? Like how safe is it? And the answer has to be, well, these things can happen. Right? There's no 100% safety.
No.
So that's relevant for nuclear power, but for that matter, for any advanced technology, and that matter for anything we do in our world, there is no 100% safety.
Exactly.
Which certainly has been one of the challenges in the past, because you mentioned it, we were expected to be 100% safe. How can that happen?
Yep.
So that's really a misperception about, of course, safety, the fact, risk itself, risk-taking, and safety. And it was interesting to see that you're working internally in TEPCO to enhance, of course, to make people aware of safety and the safety culture. Solidarity, really important, of course, to help each other within TEPCO. However, there's more to that, and that's ultimately getting to my question, because how much have you been involved with the external communication?
Yeah.
And like with your public, locally in Fukushima, which is an enormous challenge, because you say almost everyone could come back, but not many people come back, particularly only the older people, not the younger people, which you really would like to have back. So how is TEPCO helping in the public communication to ensure that people regain trust? I guess on one hand, sure, you focus internally onto your employees in TEPCO, but how much has TEPCO been involved in the external communication?
Yes, very good question. First of all, we made many mistakes of the communication. And every time we did something wrong, media accused us, TEPCO hit again, something like that. But we learned a lot from the accident that the communication, external communication is very important. But, well, I would say that, sorry, there are many engineers, but I would say, I'm not an engineer, first of all, but I would say many engineers tend to disclose the fact after they understand what was wrong, what was the real cause of the malfunction or the mistakes or something like that. So it took a little bit of time to reveal what happened. So people, again, think that TEPCO hides something wrong. We made several things, same mistakes again and again. So while I kept telling them that do not hesitate to say that I don't know yet. I'm still working on it. Otherwise, you know, they would like to check. Of course, I'd like to know the real reason why it happens. But you know, if it take more than 1 hour or so, media started accusing the TEPCO hiding something. So we learned a lot, but still it's not easy to actually let them do that. So we know that. But fortunately, we learned a lot. So the local people particularly need the information. And I know that they like to hear the good information. But unfortunately, media do not pick up those nice things, but they always pick up the bad thing, because the bad thing is the news. The good thing is not the news for them. So we have to have a direct communication as much as possible with the local people. So we have a small meeting. We always visit villages and then towns, and still not enough, but we learned a lot. So we have to keep this kind of the communications system on and on. So, well, still we have to make a lot of efforts. Yeah, thank you very much.